Good morning, darlings. Okay, this bit here is Act 2, Scene 1. This is going to be a long lesson, so if you want to pause now and go and get yourself a drink and make sure you've popped the loo and that you're very comfortable, because we are going to go quite in depth with this one. So do that and then come back. Okay, so I'm just going to read through this chorus here now, and then we will do the task. Okay, chorus. So Act 2, Scene 1, enter chorus. Chorus. Now all desire doth in his deathbed lie, and young affection gapes to be his heir. That fair, for which love groaned for and would die, with tender Juliet matched, is now not fair. Now Romeo is beloved and loves again, alike bewitched by the charm of looks, but to his foe suppose he must complain, and she steal love's sweet bait from fearful hooks. Being held a foe, he may not have access to breathe such vows as lovers used to swear. And she, as much in love, her means much less to meet her newly beloved anywhere. But passion lends them power, time means to meet, tempering extremities with extreme sweet. Okay, so if we were at school now, I would be passing out the pen and asking you to bring these boxes up and out, and for you to match them up to the arrows that I have put next to this passage. So we're going to do this now. I mean, if you want to pause the video and try and figure it out yourselves, that's great, and so you should. And the way you do that, if you didn't know and if you're struggling with it, is by trying to find some keywords in these phrases here and match them up with some keywords here, so that we know generally what's going on. Because if we were presented with a passage from Romeo and Juliet in our exam, for example, and we hadn't got the foggiest, we would look for keywords and see if we couldn't get the overall gist of what was happening. I mean, there is a summary at the top that says what's going on or what's just happened in the play when you do get your question, and it is up to you to know what goes on in the play, and your timeline, for example. It is your exam, it is your qualification, and therefore it is your responsibility. But if you weren't sure, you could perhaps go through and find a few keywords and hope that you'll be able to decode it using those and jog your memory. So in the boxes on the right hand side, then we have, in the green box at the top, someone loving Romeo like he loves them. And then the next one down, we've got extreme danger and extreme pleasure juxtaposed. We've got love personified, giving them a chance to meet here in the blue. The next one down, the lovers being unable to meet, and then Romeo must profess his love to his enemy, and Romeo's old feelings of desire for Rosaline are dying. Now, this one's interesting. Romeo's old feelings of desire for Rosaline are dying. Right. Okay. So where do we see the word dying? Oh, look, deathbed, dying. It's the same thing, isn't it? So, and we've got desire here and we've got desire there. So I reckon that yellow one goes up there. So we need to move these down then, don't we? So let's have a quick look see here. So what have we got next? We've got the next arrow says, with tender Juliet, matched is now fair. Well, matched means the same, doesn't it? So someone loving Romeo like he loves them in the same way, I think that one goes there. I think that's the same one. Now let's have another look at the arrows. So we've got, but to his foe suppose he must complain. Well, foe there, in the old-fashioned movies, if you've ever seen some, if somebody meets somebody and they shout friend or foe, and they say friend, because nobody's going to say foe, are they? They're not going to announce themselves as the enemy. But foe means enemy. So here we've got a word with enemy, and so that one must go there because that links up. Okay, being held a foe, he may not have access. Now you may be saying, but Miss, foe's there as well. Absolutely, totally agree. But here we've got two boxes, both with the word meet in, and to have access to somebody is to be able to meet them. So we need to figure out whether this is love being personified, behaving like a person, or if it's them not being able to meet. So let's have a look. Being held a foe, he may not have access. Have access to what or whom? Well, that would mean Juliet. So I think that one goes there. Right, so we've got 2 left. And even if we weren't even looking at the blue one, we would know that this one here goes at the end. Why? Because we've got the word extremities and extreme down here. So we know that one goes there, and we know that one goes there. So please make sure that you've got some notes. Take this down on your copy of the player if you've printed it out, or if you want to type in some notes on your copy if you're using the laptop or the computer or whatever it is that you're using. Please feel free to do so. Let me just budge that one up there so you can see. Please press pause and do that now, and then come back and we'll look at the modern translation so that we can see how close we were. Okay. So, chorus. Now Romeo's old feelings of desire are dying, and a new desire is eager to take their place. Romeo groaned for the beautiful Rosaline and said he would die for her. But compared with tender Juliet, Rosaline doesn't seem beautiful now. Now someone loves Romeo, and he's in love again, both of them falling for each other's good looks. But he has to make his speeches of love to a woman who's supposed to be his enemy. And she's been hooked by someone she should fear. Because he's an enemy, Romeo has no chance to see Juliet and say the things a lover normally says. And Juliet's just as much in love as he, but she has even less opportunity to meet her lover. But love gives them power, and time gives them the chance to meet, sweetening the extreme danger with intense pleasure. So we will be able to see how this one here matches up with this one. And if you're not sure, reread them both again and see if you can link them up. Have a look. I will link this down in the description box with the No Fear Shakespeare site, so you can have a look through the whole play. Okay, let's move on. Right, so this should look familiar to you because you should have watched the film like 12 lessons ago, and if you haven't, you need to get onto that immediately. In fact, pause this video, watch the film, and then come back. So this is the famous balcony scene. This is what most people think of when they think about Romeo and Juliet. They think of this scene. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have a read through this, and then we're going to answer this question up here. So, scene 2, Capulet's orchard. Enter Romeo. Romeo. So if it's in dark like this, it means he's speaking. He jests at scars that never felt a wound. And then this bit here is in italics, so we know it's a stage direction, which means he doesn't say it out loud, but the actors know when Juliet, the actress who's playing Juliet, knows when to appear at the window. Juliet appears above at a window. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestal livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my lady, oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses, I will answer it. I am too bold, 'tis not to me she speaks. 2 of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there, they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars, as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy region stream so bright that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her hand upon her cheek. No, see how she leans her cheek upon her hand even. Sorry, darlings, it's very late. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. And then Juliet says, I me. Okay, so the first question we need to ask then is, what is going on? What is going on? What's happening? Right, so if we were to go through it then, so we've got Romeo in the orchard of the Capulets, where he's not supposed to be. He's trespassing essentially, isn't he? and later on we hear Juliet say, if they find you here, they'll kill you. So what's it? So he's in the orchard of the Capulets. Make sure if you're writing this down, guys, that you're writing it really small, because otherwise you will run out of room in a minute. Romeo in the orchard of the Capulets. What's he doing? He's observing Juliet from a distance, and he's just adoring her, isn't he? Adoring her. And this is what we sometimes call adoration. Okay, he's adoring her. He's saying how beautiful she is. He is saying that he loves her. That bit's down at the bottom, so let's press the enter button a bit. Saying he wishes she knew he loves her. Okay, and then on the next bit we've got he's again talking about how pretty she is. She's beautiful. He's using many different ways to say this, and he wishes he could touch her, because at the end he says, I wish I was a glove upon that hand. So he desires physical contact with her. I wish I was a glove upon her hand so I could touch her cheek, her face, and all the rest of it. Okay, so you may be wondering why I'm not using my mouse pen, guys. It's because I can't write with it. I don't know what's going on, but I can't write with it. So you have to bear with me while I type stuff up while we're going through it. I'm really, really sorry. Okay, so that's what's going on. So the first thing that we ever have to do is when we're reading anything is figure out what is actually going on, what the plot line is, what the character's thinking or doing. That's what we do. Before we can answer anything else, we always need to establish what is going on in the plot. Okay? Right then, this is where we get into the technical stuff. So, how equals, if you said it out loud, I'm so proud of you. How equals methods. Well done. How has Shakespeare presented the theme of love here? So if you don't know what we're looking for love in this section, in this soliloquy. So that's a new word, soliloquy. Okay, let's do Liloquy. Soliloquy. What the hell's a soliloquy, miss? Well, a soliloquy is a solo speech almost. Usually what's in somebody's mind, a character's mind, is said out loud for the purpose of the audience to hear. So here Romeo is talking to himself, because he's not talking to anybody else, and so this is a soliloquy. So how has Shakespeare presented the theme of love here? Well, let's go through it and let's see if we can't find some methods and their effects then, shall we? Let's start with a nice purple. So we can ignore almost this first line here. What we want is to be focusing on this bit onwards. So but soft, what light through yonder window breaks? Well, this is a rhetorical question, isn't it? So we've got rhetorical question. Let's write that down. Rhetorical question, one of them. So we've got a rhetorical question there. Let's put that there because it is one. So I've written some notes down here to make sure that I don't miss anything out. Right, so if we take the first two words, but soft. Okay, if we are thinking about the word soft, we think of the word gentle. This could mean that she's gentle. That means he's gently trying to approach, because this contrasts who he is versus where he is. So his location. And what do I mean by that? Well, he's in the Capulets orchard. He's in the Capulets orchard. He's trespassing. So he's got to be quiet, because if he's discovered, he's going to end up being killed. And that's the last thing he wants right now. Whereas before he might not have been that bothered about it on account of the fact that he's all miserable over Rosaline. Now he's got Juliet. He wants to live. So he knows he's got to be quiet. Okay, right. Then we've got the word light. I'm going to change colour for this one, guys and girls. Just so that we've got, like, separate... so we can separate our notes out. So we've got the idea of light. Okay, so just like, what it is, what it isness, is it contrasts against the setting of night. It's dark where he is. Don't forget, this is a time where they haven't got street lights, where they haven't got, there's no external light source. So let's take the word light then, and then we'll drag that up here and we'll put these blues together. So contrast against the setting of night, because that is the only light, and so his eyes are naturally drawn up towards it. But also she is where the light is, and if somebody sees the light, it's a turn of phrase, it's an idiom, which means that they come to a realization. And he's come to a realization about the feud, that it's pointless, because Juliet, the daughter of his enemy, is the one he loves, and it doesn't matter that she is technically his enemy. He's not bothered anymore. So he's come to a realization about the feud, hasn't he? He's not, he doesn't care about that ever. I mean, he didn't much to begin with, but he cares even less now. He doesn't care at all that she is he doesn't matter. She's Juliet. It doesn't matter that she is the daughter of his enemy. Okay, right. So let's have another look then. What else can we say about this? I'm going to change the colour again, because we need to let's change to a nice, that's a nice colour. Let's have that. This is still with the light stuff. So Juliet is now his source of light, source of life. What do I mean by that? If we take, what does light do for us on the planet? You guys do biology, you know this. Light gives life. The sun gives photosynthesis and creates oxygen in plants, and without all of that stuff we couldn't breathe. And so without Juliet, he can't breathe either, can he? She is now his light, his life, the source of his life, his reason for being, essentially, his reason for being, for his existence. Okay, so you probably want to get some notes down about that, my darlings. Thank you. Right, so let's see what else we can do. Let's think about this more. Let's think about a deeper level. Let's become literary archaeologists. So what else can we say? With light creates life and new beginnings. So this is a metaphor. Juliet equals his new beginning. Let's make sure that it's not over there so we can't see it. New life in Romeo. Let's put that down. There's more life, more enthusiasm for life in him. He's got a purpose. Let's put that down as well. He's now got a purpose. This metaphor, what light through yonder window breaks. And because this is continued here, it is the east. Well, where does the sun rise? In the east. Juliet is his life. Yeah? Juliet is the sun. Juliet rises in the east, and I'm fairly certain if we were being particular about it, the balcony would have been in the east from where he was standing, I'm probably sure. So it probably wasn't, but you know what I mean. If you were designing a set, that's probably what you could say. So it's a metaphor. Juliet is his new beginning, his new purpose. He didn't really have one before, other than to just inherit his father's land and be Lord Montague and continue the feud. Now he's got real purpose. He was here, put on this earth. In his mind, he was here, put on this earth to be hers, to be with her. Okay, so let's have a pen mark then, my darlings. It is the east. This is the worst circle ever. Sorry, guys, I'm doing this with my mouse. It is the east. Juliet is the sun. So we've got all this ideas about life, new beginnings, and all the rest of it. And then we've got this semantic field. What's a semantic field? Well, let's write the word down first so that we know what we're looking at. And then we've got semantic field. If I said to you, balls, boots, shorts, grass, posts, mouthguard, whistle, you might think, oh, she's on about rugby again. And you'd be quite right, but all those words contribute to that overall theme, and that's called a semantic field. So here we've got stuff to do with the sun and the moon and light. So we've got light, we've got east, we've got sun, we've got fair, we've got sun, we've got moon, pale, and all these things that are to do with light and the sun and the moon and the heavens and the stars, which is continued on the next slide as well. So we'll have another look at that. So, okay, what else can we see? We can see, well, I'm going to run out of room here, darling, sorry. We can see, arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. So this is personification here, isn't it? Because this here, arise, fair sun, is an imperative verb. Let's have another colour, shall we? Let's have green, because green's to do with envy, isn't it? Imperative verb, arise. No. Arise. I don't know why my keyboard's backwards. Sorry, guys. Arise, fair sun. He's telling the sun to rise and kill the envious moon. Personification. Well, the moon can't be envious, can it? Envious, because envy is a feeling that people have, and occasionally my dog when I'm eating something that he wants, but yeah, envious is a person feeling, so it's personification. Okay, so we've got loads of stuff in here that we could talk about. The idea of love, that he loves her, that he thinks she's so beautiful, that he just can't, that the moon is jealous because she's so beautiful, because she's the sun. And if you think about the relationship between the sun and the sun is far brighter. The moon reflects the sun's light back onto planet Earth, of course, but the sun is brighter and gives more. The moon doesn't give as much life as the sun does. The sun gives all of this purpose and life and light, and so he's saying that the moon is jealous of Juliet because of her beauty. Okay, that's what the word fair means here. Okay, let's have a let's just fair is also the word that you want there as well. Okay, so you could link those two together when you answer this question in an essay format and type it up and send it to me, which is what is going to be your task after this. Okay, right, so we're going to get down to here. So it continues a little bit here, and you can analyze that bit in your own time because we're running out of space now. So let's have another text box, and let's have another color perhaps. Oh, let's have another. That's a nice color. Right, so possessiveness. I'm going to put the word possessiveness. He's claiming her almost here, claiming her. Where is he doing that? It is my lady. Oh, it is my love. He's claiming her. So whilst Romeo is all about the love, he's not necessarily over the fact that, and if you watch the last video about marriage in Elizabethan era and help about women being property, this is sort of, he can't quite escape the tradition and culture of his time. Shakespeare was a champion of women. He wrote really, really strong women, and we looked at this a couple of videos ago, but he wrote Juliet, strong-headed, knew what she wanted, young woman. Lady Macbeth definitely wore the trousers in that relationship. Ophelia, Viola, he wrote really strong women and was quite the champion, but again, we can't we can't ignore the fact that Romeo was brought up in a culture where men owned, essentially, and controlled is probably a better word, the women in their lives, whether that be a daughter or a wife. Okay, so we've also got some sibilants here. That's the next thing that we need to look at. Well, where's the sibilants? Let's have a look. Where is the sibilants? Let's type it in. Where is the sibilant? So let's read the last few lines then. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? So if we've got the S's, maybe that reflects, if I could spell, how quiet he needs to be. Because of his location, again, maybe, that he wants to preserve this love that they've got by, you know, not being killed because he's trespassing. Okay, so these are some ideas for you to write down. You can obviously build on these, but these are some ideas for you to write down. Okay, so her eye discourses then. I won't answer it. I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. So what's going on? What is going on here? Right, let's have a look then. So a discourse then is a conversation. A discourse in a conversation. Her eyes are talking. I will answer it. No. Her eyes are, no. So I'm too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Right, two of the fairy stars in all the heaven having some business doing, treat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. So let's go with this bit then. So discourse is a conversation. Discourse. So I will answer it. On the top line, he's still quite self-focused because he's saying, I will answer it. But then on the second line, he realizes and he says, oh, no, it's not. She's not speaking to me. So, but then he self-corrects, doesn't he? And he's quite happy just to stand, I assume, and listen to her speak. Because he's too busy looking at her eyes, two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. So he's saying that two of the nicest stars in heaven, having some business here on earth, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres. So the stars are going to twinkle in her eyes, and her eyes are going to be in heaven, in the night sky, because they're so bright. And then if her eyes were in her head, the brightness of her cheeks would shame those stars, would put those stars to shame. They wouldn't be bright in comparison with the brightness of her cheeks, and it would have the same effect as daylight does on a lamp. Lamp here we mean like a torch, like some fire. So for example, if you switched on your bedside lamp in the day, it doesn't make much difference. It doesn't get any brighter, for example. If we took it outside in the middle of August at midday when the sun is at its highest in the sky and you switched on the lamp, would anywhere get any brighter? No. The lamp only works against something that's dark, whereas the stars would not have any effect even if they were right next to her cheek, because her cheeks are so bright. She is so beautiful, essentially. So I'm just going to write that down. beautiful. She's so beautiful. And all this down here, and we can talk about these, this personified metaphor. This is a personified metaphor, essentially, and the word shame is a verb. Okay, so we've got this idea. So how has Shakespeare presented the theme of love here? We've got loads and loads of methods, and this is what you need to answer them, please. So how are we going to do that? I hear you ask me. Right, well, to be fair, this is a challenge. So what I've done is I've written out some a sort of a model paragraph, which I'm going to walk you through. You may not copy mine. You may use this as a springboard. You may not copy it word for word, and I will know because I do recognise my own writing. So let's have a look on the next page then. So I've started with a method, because you can pet all your paragraphs. It doesn't matter that it doesn't have to be in the PETAL formula, as long as you're hitting your AOs, your AO1, what's going on, your AO2, your quotes and your methods, and your AO3, what your contextual detail or what an audience member thinks, etc., you can get your marks. So I've said, and excuse my horrific writing, this took me ages with that pen. So by using the metaphor, quote, comma, open quote, remember we did the embedding quotations before, so I'm doing this here again and making sure I'm embedding my quotations. By using the metaphor, comma, it is the east and Juliet is the sun, comma, close quotation. Shakespeare constructs the idea that Juliet is the source and reason for Romeo's life, just as the sun gives life to all on earth, insinuating that without her he would die. Aww. Shakespeare has done this to establish Romeo's deep love for Juliet so the audience can accept the later events in the play. I ran out of room, so I had to go on the next page. Without this intense demonstration of love, the paths the two lovers take may be seen. I can't even read my own writing, I'm so sorry. The paths the two lovers take may be seen as unrealistic and disengage an audience, meaning the audience, yeah, they're not going to accept it unless we know how deeply Romeo feels for Juliet. It's got to be much more than he felt for Rosaline. This declaration by Romeo serves as a prophecy, so to tell something before it happens. After all, Romeo does die when he believes Juliet is dead. So that's just one example. So that's one example. I've used one quote. It is the east and Juliet is the sun. I've used one method and I've analysed the life out of it. Now you may be wondering what on earth these things here are. And this means that, right, okay, so if you took these two triangles and the big part of the triangle is at the bottom, that's where the analysis is. If the big part of the triangle is at the top and you're just focusing on a quote, you're not going to get many marks. If your analysis is little, you're not going to get many marks. If you only talk about the method and you don't say what effect it has, you're not going to get many marks. You're not going to do a very good job. So it is about quantity, and I have analysed the audience's reaction closely. I've got my extended vocabulary. I've been detailed, I've been precise and concise. I've got numerous ideas in there, and I've linked it well. So I think that's a decent paragraph. And if I continued my essay in much the same way, I think I'd get decent marks. So before we move on to the next lesson, which will look like this, I want you can use this as a springboard. You may not copy it word from word, but this is the kind of stuff that I'm asking you to do. So this is your question up here. I'd like you to type this up, please, and put it into the submissions folder. If you can't get on the remote access, you can type it up and email it to me, or you can take a photo when you've written it in your books and email that instead. If you need help, this isn't an assessment, but it is an important piece of work, so it needs to be done. If you need help, you can email me at Miss Hine English, or you can you can tweet me at Miss Hine English, or you can email me. You know where I am. Okay, stay safe, stay in the house, wash your hands, and I will hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.